Hare Krishna, everyone. Thank you for joining. Hope you're all well. Let's do Radha Madhav. Jai Radha Madhava Jayo Kunj Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Jaya Kunj Bihari Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Jayo Giravardhari Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Jayo Giravardhari Shodanandana Vrajjana Ranjana Shodanandana Vrajjana Ranjana Yamuna Tiruvanachari Jai Radha Madhava Jayo Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Jayo Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Agyan Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutre Swayam Rupa Kadam Hayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Uttapadakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavcha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sri Sadhvetam Savadutam Krishna Setam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitam Scha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kant Radha Kant Namastute Tapta Kanchan Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranmami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatu Priyescha Kirpa Sindhuvevacha Pavitna Pavanavyo Vaishnavyo Namo Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pasthaya Bhutale Śrīmate Bhaktivedanta Swami Tinamine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasi Gopakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Mukham Kroti Vachalam Pangum Langyate Garim Yat Kirpatham Vandashi Gurundin Taranam Paramanandamadam Shitaneshram Hari Om Tassat Narayan Namaskritya Naram Cheva Naruttamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Madhuriyat Nasta Prashabdi Vishin Nittabhavsya Bhavatutam Bhakti Bhavati Nestiki Hare Krishna. So, nearly finishing with chapter 17, overview on Wednesday evening, no program in the morning. I've got Dinabandhu Prabhu from Manchester, who's a psychiatrist by profession. He's very good preacher as well. We'll be hearing from him. And so last time, we were discussing how Maharaj Parikshit, he was representing his ancestors. So, he understood what's the protocol and what the duty of a Kshatriya is, especially to one who has surrendered to the king, to the Kshatriya, how he should behave. So he did not kill the age of Kali, or the representation of Kali. And but there had to be some consequence. You cannot reward bad behavior, as we're saying. For bad behavior, there has to be some consequence. So the person or the entity knows that they did wrong. If you keep rewarding bad behavior, then you're encouraging it, right? So there has to be some consequence to it. So Srila Prabhupada also explains how the principle of religion, they were not followed in the current present by the present rulers. And then we finally discussed how important was to please the Lord. So whatever we do, we have to check that is this pleasing the Lord, or is it just pleasing our senses, or our spectators, so to speak. Are we pleasing the Lord by our offering? Whatever we're doing is an offering. Anything, whatever we do for the Lord, it becomes devotional service. So we have to make sure that the Lord is happy with our devotional service. Okay. So let's continue. Verse 36. Okay, here we go. So Kali is speaking. Kaliruvacha yatra kavat vatsyami sarav bhoma tabaganya lakshe tatra tatrapi tvam ateshu shara sanam Kali vacha. The person Kali said, yatra, anywhere, kav, and everywhere, va, either, atha, thereof, vatsyami, I shall reside, sarvabhoma, O Lord, O Emperor of the earth. Tav yo aganya, by the order, lakshya, I see, tatra tatra, anywhere and everywhere. Api also, tvam, your majesty, art taken over, issue arrows, shara sanam, bows. So, O your majesty, though I may live anywhere and everywhere under your order, I shall but see you with bow and arrows wherever I look. So the person Kali could see that Maharaj Parikshit was the emperor of all lands all over the world, and thus anywhere he might live, he would have to meet with the same mood of the king. So the king's watching him. The person Kali was meant for mischief, and Maharaj Parikshit was meant for subduing all kinds of mischief mongers, especially the personality of Kali. So it's a bad combination for Kali. It was better, therefore, for the person of Kali to have been killed by the king than live in fear all the time, right? Then instead of being killed elsewhere, he was, after all, a surrendered soul before the king, and it was for the king to do what was required. So that's 36. Okay, so let's get in 37. Tanme dharam vritam shrestha sthanam nirdishtam arhasi yatreva niyato vatsya atisthamste nushasanam. So that therefore may me dharam vritam, of all the protectors of religion, shrestha, O chief, sthanam, place, nirdishtam, fix, arhasi, may you do so, yatra, where, eva, certainly, niyataha, always, vatse, can reside, atisthan, permanently situated, the yo anusha sanam, under your rule. Therefore, O chief amongst the protectors of religion, please fix some place for me where I can live permanently under the protection of your government. So Kali is saying that please accept me as your citizen and give me protection, that I'm here and I'm a surrendered soul to you, and I see you, I surrender to your authority, but please let me live so I can live, without having fear all the time of being killed. So please tell me. And he's made a suggestion that this is a possibility, or if this is a possibility, please guide me through this. So the personality of Kali addressed Maharaj Parikshit as the chief amongst the protectors of religiosity, because the king refrained from killing a person who surrendered unto him. A surrendered soul should be given all protection, even though he may be an enemy. That is the principle of religion, and we can just imagine what sort of protection is given by the person of Godhead to the person who surrenders unto him, not as an enemy, but as a devoted servitor. So, and we can just imagine what sort of protection is given by the person of God himself to the person who surrenders unto him. So Krishna says, surrender unto me, and I will take away all your reactions, all your sins, not as an enemy, but as devoted servitor. The Lord protects the surrendered soul from all sins and all resultant reactions of sinful acts. 1866, Sarva Dharma Pratajya. So Kali is expecting protection from Maharaj Parikshit. So just think, when we get protection from the Lord himself, because Lord says, just like Kali has surrendered to Maharaj Parikshit, we surrender to the Lord, how much protection we can expect from the Lord. He's in the heart of everyone. He's everywhere. It's not that we have to call him or something, for protection. He's protecting us all the time. He's with us all 24/7, protection from the Lord. Sutavacha abhirathis-tada tasmai sthanini kalyatadav dyutam panam striya sona yatra dharmaschatur vidha. So Sutta Goswami said, abhirathitha, thus being petitioned, tada, at that time, tasmai, unto him, sthanani, places, kalye, to be personality of Kali, tadau, to the personality of Kali, tadau, gave him permission, dyutam, gambling, panam, drinking, istriya, illicit association with women, suna, animal slaughter, yatra, wherever, adharma, sinful activities, chatu, vidya, 4 kinds of. So Maharaj Parikshit have told him the 4 pillars of sin that we discussed, we've been talking about. Those people are doing those business by choice. People who are going there by choice. They are using their free will to do this. Well, Maharaj is saying, well, good luck to those people. Kali, you can reside there and give them hell when they come down. And you find that, drinking is everybody understands drinking, how many problems that causes, drinking and driving, right? Drinking and health, drinking and violence, all sorts of problems take place. And you see the Western culture, the women are also drinking, they get into trouble in many ways by drinking alcohol. So, we don't need to go very far to understand what problems these things bring. So Sutta Goswami said, Maharaj Parikshit, thus being petitioned by the personality of Kali, gave him permission to reside in places where gambling, drinking, prostitution, and animal slaughter were performed. The basic principles of religiosity, such as pride, prostitution, intoxication, and falsehood, counteract the 4 principles of religion, namely austerity, cleanliness, mercy, and truthfulness. The personality of Kali was given permission to live in 4 places, particularly mentioned by the king. So, Maharaj is saying that this is where you belong. I don't want you roaming around all over the kingdom and messing things up. You belong in those places, and you go and live there. The place of prostitution, the place of drinking, and the place of animal slaughter. Srila Jiva Goswami directs that drinking against the principles of scriptures, such as Sutramani Yajna, association with women outside marriage, killing animals against the injunctions of scriptures and are religious. In the Vedas, two different types of injunctions are there for pravritas, or those who are engaged in material enjoyment, and for nivritas, for those who are liberated from material bondage. The Vedic injunction for the pravritas is to gradually regulate the activities towards the path of liberation. Therefore, for those who are in the lowest stage of ignorance and who indulge in wine, women, and flesh, drinking by performing Sutramani Yajna, association of women by marriage, and flesh eating by sacrifices are sometimes recommended, because those people who regulate these things, although they need to do this, but if they regulate them, then sooner or later they will give it up as well, because they realize there's a higher force and there's like a reason that these things are regulated, and because they are offering these things, sooner or later they will start, get a realization that what we're doing is actually wrong. Such recommendations in the Vedic literature are meant for a particular class of men and not for all, but because they are injunctions of the Vedas for particular types of persons, such activities by pravritas are not considered adharma. One man's food may be poison for others. Similarly, what is recommended for those in the mode of ignorance may be poison for those in the mode of goodness. Srila Jiva Goswami Prabhu therefore affirms that recommendations in the scriptures for a certain class of men are never to be considered adharma or irreligious. But such activities are factually adharma and they are never to be encouraged. The recommendations in the scriptures are not meant for the encouragement of such adharma, but for regulating the necessary adharma. So even dharma can be regulated, because gradually towards the path of dharma, in the hope that it will eventually lead to dharma. Because if you're doing whimsically, without thinking about it, then there's no limit. But if you do things in a controlled way, then you may start thinking that, is this, what are we doing, is it the right thing, or is it something higher than this? Following in the footsteps of Maharaj Parikshit, it is the duty of all executive heads of states to see that the principle of religion, namely austerity, cleanliness, mercy and truthfulness, are established in the state, and that the principles of religion, namely pride, illicit female association or prostitution, intoxication, falsity, are checked by all means. And you find that from time to time, even the rulers, the leaders, heads of states, they get caught out, as we see on the news all the time. Illicit female association, intoxication, drinking and driving, all sorts of issues like that. These things happen. You get caught out. At least, especially in the Western world, they are made accountable for their actions. That's at least one good thing. There's some truthfulness still remaining, whether it's the media or the opposition parties, whoever. At least they are accountable, so everybody else knows that when you're in a high position, you have to be careful how you deal with money, how you deal with illicit relationships, and you don't, you practice what you preach as well, and you shouldn't be drinking and driving. So things like that. So they are at least held accountable for their actions. Those who are addicted to these irreligious habits may be regulated by the injunctions of the scripture. In no circumstances should they be encouraged by any state. In other words, the state should categorically stop all sorts of gambling, drinking, prostitution and falsity. The state which wants to eradicate corruption by majority may introduce the principles of religion in the following manner. So here's the recommendation by Srila Prabhupada. 1. To compulsory fasting days in a month, if not more austerity. 2 compulsory fasting days in a month, which is Ekadashi. Even from the economic point of view, such 2 fasting days in a month in the state will save tons of food, and the system will also act very favorably on the general health of the citizens. 2. There must be compulsory marriage of young boys and girls attaining 24 years of age and 16 years of age respectively. There is no harm in co-education in the schools and colleges, provided the boys and girls are duly married, and in case there is any intimate connection between a male and female student, they should be married properly without illicit relation. The Divorce Act is encouraging prostitution, and this should be abolished. The citizens of the state must give in charity up to 50% of the income for the purpose of creating a spiritual atmosphere in the state or in human society, both individually and collectively. They should preach the principles of Bhagavatam by Karma Yoga or doing everything for the satisfaction of the Lord. Regular hearing of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam from authorized persons or realized souls. Chanting of the glories of the Lord congregationally at home or at place of worship. Rendering all kinds of service to Bhagavatas engaged in preaching Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, and residing in a place where the atmosphere is saturated with God consciousness. If the state is regulated by the above process, naturally there will be God consciousness everywhere. So that is the recommendation by Srila Prabhupada. Gambling of all description, even speculative business enterprise is considered to be degrading. So speculation is also not allowed, that's considered gambling. And when gambling is encouraged in the state, there is a complete disappearance of truthfulness. Allowing young boys and girls to remain unmarried more than the above mentioned ages and licensing animal slaughterhouses of all description should be at once prohibited. The flesh eaters may be allowed to take flesh as mentioned in the scriptures and not otherwise. Intoxication of all description, even smoking cigarettes, chewing tobacco, drinking of tea, must be prohibited. So there you go. This is the recommendation. We might think that it's not possible to push all these restrictions, but many of us have voluntarily accepted them, right? Because we've understood it's not that we are giving these up. We are taking on a higher taste. So these are automatically given up. So you cannot get the whip out and tell people you have to give. It'd be like civil war, civil unrest in the state. No. You give them something higher, and they will automatically give something low. They will understand that what we've been doing is actually a lot lower. There's something higher. So you show them something better, and they will definitely give us something lower. And the example of Sanatana Goswami, when that man goes to Sanatana Goswami and he wants something from him, and Sanatana Goswami gives him is it Chintamani stone, is it? What's it called?
Chintamani.
Stone, yeah. And he was lying in the rubbish. And he took the stone, but then he thought, why is he lying in the rubbish? Then he must have something higher, because he doesn't obviously now respect this thing that he's giving me. So he went back, he says, look, I know you must have something higher, because this was lying, you just took it out of the rubbish and gave it to me. So you must have something higher. Then when you get something higher, all these other things are mundane, that you just were brainwashed from childhood that these are very important things. But when you get something higher, then they don't have, it's all about the mind. When you have something higher, you understand that actually I was wasting my time with all these things, and I can do much better. The meaning of life or the goal of life. This is not the goal of life. All this will be left here, and you're still stuck in the vicious circle. It's like all illusion. It's a game, and and we're still here because we keep losing that game. We're still here, in one form or other. So we keep losing out every time. We need to win, and there's a way to do that. Okay, so 38. Let's see. We have something here. These places you can understand. Kali is living there. The Vedas are divided into the 3 modes to direct souls according to their different mode, because we all born with some dominant mode. So, like I said, if you tell people in the mode of ignorance or passion to give all this up, they'll be uprising. How dare you, like you are going against a human rights. Right? That will be the first argument. This is a human right. We can do, as we please, as long as you're not breaking the law of the state. So there may be sacrifices in the low modes that are meant to guide people in the higher modes. Those in the high mode should not encourage those in the low modes, but understand that these modes are meant to bring the followers onto higher mode. So it's step by step. At the same time, those in the high mode should not embrace practices in the low mode. So you don't go down, only way is up. We have to keep moving higher and higher, transcending the low modes. So these are the guidelines for Krishna conscious state. Give them Krishna consciousness. Okay, we'll just do 39. Punascha yach manaya jatrupam adat prabhu tato anartam madam kamam rajo verim cha panchamam. So punaha, again, cha also yacha manaya, to the beggar, jat rupam, gold, adat, gave away, prabhu, the king, tatha, whereby anartam, falsehood, madam, intoxication, kamam, lust, rajaha, on account of passionate mood, veram, enmity, cha also panchamam, the 5th one. So the person of Kali asked for something more, and because of his begging, so Maharaj said you can stay in these 4 places, but Kali is asking for something more. So what is more? The king gave permission to live where there is gold, because wherever there is gold, there is also falsity, intoxication, lust, envy, and enmity. So although Maharaj Parikshit gave Kali permission to live in 4 places, it was very difficult for him to find the places where during the reign of Maharaj Parikshit there were no such places. So it's very easy now, but at that time, so he felt that he's been tricked to go to 4 places, because these 4 places really didn't exist. Not they weren't obvious anyway. They might be underground, but they weren't obvious. It was very difficult for him to find the places where during the reign of Maharaj Parikshit there were no such places. Therefore, Kali asked the king to give him something practical, something a bit more obvious, which could be utilized for his nefarious purposes. Otherwise, he has no service to do. Maharaj Parikshit thus gave him permission to live in a place where there is gold. Because wherever there is gold, there are all above mentioned 4 things, and over and above them, there is enmity also. So the person of Kali became gold standardized. According to Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, gold encourages falsity, intoxication, prostitution, envy, and enmity. In fact, everybody has been investing into gold recently. Now they've gone back to oil, but everybody investing into gold, and it's been shooting up in price. Even a gold standard exchange and currency is bad. Gold standard currency is based on falsehood, because the currency is not on a par with the reserve gold. The basic principle is falsity, because currency notes are issued in value beyond that of the actual reserved gold. The basic principle is falsity, because currency notes are issued in value beyond that of the exchange of gold. This artificial inflation of currency by the authorities encourages prostitution of the state economy. The price of commodities excuse me, becomes artificially inflated because of the bad money or artificial currency notes. Bad money drives away good money. Instead of paper currency, actual gold coins should be used for exchange, and this will stop prostitution of gold. So, Srila Prabhupada saying everything is prostitution. Gold ornaments for women may be allowed by control, not by quality, but by quantity. This will discourage lust, envy, and enmity. Where there is actual gold currency in the form of coins, the influence of gold in producing falsity, prostitution, etc. will automatically cease. There will be no need of an anti-corruption ministry for another time of prostitution and falsity of purpose. And see a lot of devotees, they invest in diamonds instead of gold. I don't know if Kali resides in diamonds, but they're trying to avoid gold. Kali lives there. So we can add the other activities were not anywhere to be seen in the kingdom, so where to hide? Kali had nowhere to go. He basically made homeless. Then Maharaj Parikshit said, you can reside in gold. So real economy is based on land, grains and cows. Gold standard currency is based on falsehood because the currency is not in par with reserve gold. Okay, so we discussed all this. Currency backed by gold creates a false economy. When gold is not used in the service of Krishna, it becomes a resident of Kali. Excuse me. So everything can be used in the service of Krishna. Just don't use it for your own sense gratification. Where Kali resides, religiosity is definitely there. So we know where religiosity lies now from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. So thank you so much, and I'd like to hear your views. Stop sharing. Hare Krishna. Okay. So Pundikaksh Prabhu, what do you think?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, again, my mind is everywhere, so but I could catch a few things, Prabhuji. Especially the effect of Kali, we can understand. And I feel like these devotees are so merciful. Like that's what Krishna says, right? My devotees are more merciful. Like when Parishad Maharaj did this, it's a master stroke because every every people to get distracted, these are the main four things which will distract and bring you down in your life. So he asked Kali to go and stay in those places. Not about these people, but Indians are very scared of doing any sinful activity. If you ask them to do a normal charity, they may not do. But if you say, if you don't do this, you will incur a sinful reaction, then immediately they do it. So Parishad Maharaj makes sure that the Kali is in those places where people will get scared also to go to those places. If not for their health and everything, but at least not to incur sinful reactions, at least people stop going to those places. And Krishna says in Bhagavad-Gita that there are three things that takes you to the hell, like Kama, Krodha, Moha, Lobha, Matsarya. So Parishad Maharaj makes sure that the people are not going to those things. So he asked Kali to go and stay in these places. So I was listening to like long time back Amrendra Prabhu class on Ekadashi. So he said one of the spiritual reason following Ekadashi is the Ekadashi, the demon or devata causing problem, but she was asked to go away. But um, then she was permitted to stay in the grains on the Ekadashi. That's why we don't eat grains. At least people understanding this as a sinful activity, they won't go. So that's really nice. Like we have got Shruti and Smriti. Shruti given by the Lord and Smriti given by the devotees. And so sages understand the heart of the Lord and they give the information which is required for us, um, by following which we'll automatically come to the path of bhakti as well. That's what I get, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Absolutely right. Kiran Prabhu?
Hare Krishna. Yes, man, I have degraded ourselves because we have fallen from grace. The grace of the four legs that the cow had of austerity, mercy, cleanliness, and truth. The three legs of austerity, mercy, and cleanliness have been taken away. And it illustrates how we are also lacking in mercy, how we're also lacking in principles, values, and austerity. Getting up at 5 a.m. is not easy. And it's those kind of things that, we have to have. Austerity gives us discipline. And we haven't been as clean, not in physical cleanliness, but also emotional cleanliness. And hence, okay, the only leg that's left is a higher principle thing, and it's called truth. But truth, it's relative. There is the truth which is underpinned by tattva within our shastra. Even the leader of the free state has a platform called truth. And you think, hang on, what kind of relative truth is that? But therefore, our job, our purpose is to help ourselves, first and foremost, rise those three modes of material nature. Yes, we have goodness, we have ignorance, and we have passion. That's why we're in the kind of mess we are, because the lower two have taken over the higher modes of nature. And hence, Prabhupada gave us those very explicit information that fasting should be there, so it'll help us with discipline and austerity, that this should be compulsory. There should be compulsory marriage in people's lives, right? That stops all that illicit, dirty, unwanted kind of progeny, etc. There should be co-education. However, that co-education should be such that it is based on high values and morality. That there should be funding and given to dharmic way of life and moving religiosity forward. And there should be the hearing and listening of Vedic Shastric principles. And hence, people have been told that, yeah, Kali has been given somewhere to live, and that's in gold. And where do our eyes light up when we see the gold shops on Melton Road or on Soho Road? You know, the world trades in gold bars and in barrels which are of oil. And we have to learn that, gold, while it's there, it serves a purpose, but you can't take it with you. You can't eat it. It does serve an economic purpose for the states. I have very little handle on economics, but clearly, they know exactly how to handle gold, but it has to be handled with tact, sensitivity, and compassion. And Prabhupada was amazing. He taught us how to rise the three modes of nature. Getting to the Premier League of goodness is good, but that's not enough. We have to have Krishna Prema, which is you don't even have to think that your behavior and your attitude automatically is of a divine level. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Yeah, I mean, this gold, actually, only one thing that holds price in the Kali Yuga, maybe because Kali is residing there, so he's strong in there, resident in there, and gold really does hold its value, and everybody's after gold. But it's, again, all these things, they can be used either in the service of the Lord, or if you're not ready to use them in service of the Lord, at least use them in a controlled way. That's what Srila Prabhupada is saying, that it should be handled in a controlled manner. And all these recommendations Srila Prabhupada has made, it's not just to bore us to death. Like we think, well, people are doing these things. Well, what's left then? Better be dead then, and not be able to do all these gratification. But these are actually to control lust, greed, anger. Like you said, three Pundikash Prabhu mentioned that gateways to hell. So these four things, they are helping you with your lust, greed, and anger, right? Anger, like I said, drinking. Some people get very angry after drinking. Others get very merry, but there's others who get very angry. And lust and greed are obvious ones. Some gambling and illicit relationships. So they're there to help us, to get into the mode where we are able to think about the Lord instead of just thinking about ourselves. And Ekadashi as well. I see Ekadashi as like speed bumps on the road, because we do get carried away. We might have some engagements, like people inviting us here and there, and we're all excited, and we're eating away this and that, and then suddenly Ekadashi arrives, and sometimes I've heard people say, "Well, Ekadashi already?" Well, it's a good thing, because it should slow us down, bring us back to reality again, because living in society, not everybody is Krishna conscious. So we can get carried away with gratification, although the grasas are allowed a little bit of gratification, but we don't sometimes know. It's not like a written quota that, oh, okay, I've had my quota of the week, that's it. But Ekadashi days tell you, you had your quota for the 2 weeks, and now back, do some austerity, chant extra rounds, eat less, avoid grains, like that. So then you pick up speed again after 2 weeks, and then you slow down after 2 weeks. So it's nice, so we don't just go in unlimited speed. We don't look back. So it's to slow us down. I think these are very scientific and good for the health. Give the body a bit of rest as well. It's not saying that. I mean, at one time Kadashi, people were doing Nirjal. Not our bodies don't always allow now to do Nirjala Ekadashi, but that was a recommendation that you just give up for one day, just give up eating and drinking, and do extra rounds, do more bhakti, and take a note of your bhakti. That where are you going? That what have you done in the last 2 weeks? Has it been enough? So you take account, take inventory of your bhakti every couple of weeks, just to check that you're doing the right things, and maybe check that your speech, your actions, like that. Have what have you been talking about for the last couple of weeks? Have you been talking nonsense, or have you talking about Krishna Katha? Are you talking about spirituality, or you go carried away with the what's been going on in the media? So we can check so many things. And what have you been doing? Have you spending time on Instagram or Facebook? So many things we can just keep a check on, but we need to do on a regular basis. So I think these are wonderful concepts. It's not to bring us down, it's to bring us up in life. So thank you, Srila Prabhupada, for giving us all this. Okay, I think Praveen, Hina Mataji, please. Hina Mataji is listening.
Oh.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Hare Krishna, everyone. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. I think some very nice points have been covered off already by the devotees, so that's great. Just a couple of things for me to add was just around the covering of these verses where Kali is being surrendering to Maharaj Parikshit. And just thinking about how powerful the act of surrendering is, and obviously he's surrendering to Maharaj Parikshit, who's being so merciful. But if we compare the act of surrendering to the Lord, taking shelter of him, taking shelter of Krishna, you know, how ultimately that is our only safe space, really. And obviously, yeah, I was just thinking about that there's nothing really in this world which is really going to save us or protect us, whether that be our home, our family, the government, or our bank balance. But it's just like the whole act of surrendering was triggering my mindset there. And also these verses are very nice because they clearly outline what is the dharma versus dharma. So we've got like the dharmic areas which are specified very clearly in these verses by Srila Prabhupada, like where gambling takes place, drinking, intoxications, prostitution, where there's slaughterhouses, and these are things which shouldn't not be encouraged in society. Whereas the dharmic, you could say, values and qualities which should be established and should be encouraged is also outlined by Srila Prabhupada, so such as cleanliness, austerity, truthfulness, religion, mercy, etc. And then this whole topic about gold, as we've already covered off with the gold, or the attachment of gold, can lead to pride, greed, dishonesty. It can be associated with so many negative behaviors. As it's mentioned, around falsity as well. We can end up putting more value on it, for example. And if we attach ourselves too much to gold as well, then it ends up blowing up your ego. You can also, portray a false image of ourselves, and hence I think that's the falsity piece as well. But ultimately, if that gold, and I think we've already mentioned it here, that it's used properly in service or in temple worship, then it automatically becomes purified. So I think my main takeaway really is just whatever we do, should be an offering to the Lord, which is what you covered off right at the beginning, Prabhu. So it's just having that mindset in our words and actions. I mean, mindful, that everything should be intended for the service of the Lord. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Our body, speech, and mind should be for offering to the Lord, and we should be checking regularly that are we doing this. So Pundikaksh Prabhu, just want to see what let's put down. So Vali asked Lord Ram, why you break dharma by hiding and killing me? You displayed dharma when everyone was watching you, and now, and on this forest where no one is watching, you break dharma. Oh, this is interesting. So Lord Ram said, what dharma you are following? Who taught you? You don't have guru. I have Guru Vishwamitra. So Prabhu was saying dharma should be by following guru and disciple succession. Yes, very nice, Prabhu. Yes. And we also learned that it's easy to follow Lord Ram because he set Maryada, is Maryada Purushottam, and he set us very good examples how to live, right, in Dharma. Whereas Lord Krishna, we follow his teachings. We don't follow what Krishna was doing. He's Supreme Personality of Godhead. He can do whatever he wants. But we follow Krishna's teachings and we follow Ram's examples. So thank you so much for sharing, Pundikaksh Prabhu. Okay. I'd like to hear from, I think, Parveen Mataji is listening only today. So Purna Prakash Prabhu, would you like to add anything?
Yes, Prabhu. Two things. First, it is this verse, this section you described today. It tells that how the Kali Yuga started, basically.
Yeah.
And I was listening from Lal Govindas, and he was telling that, as you mentioned regarding the goal in this section, the helmet which Maharaj Parikshit was wearing, it actually belonged to the Jayadratha, and but it was kept in somewhere by Yudhishthira Maharaj, so he didn't use at all that one, because Jayadratha was killed and this helmet was kept there, and Bhim did not wanted to give that one. So when Maharaj Parikshit went to Shringi Rishi's father, he was wearing that helmet. So he did this because Kali was there in that one, and it all happened because of that.
Jai. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Okay.
And second thing, Prabhu mentioned this one, the recommendations given, the fasting is very, very important, because medically it is proven that it detoxifies the body. It totally detoxifies the body, and rest of the recommendations given by the Srila Prabhupada, that in this age of the Kali, the people are so much degraded, they should be gradually brought to the Krishna consciousness by Karam Yoga. Don't disturb them what they are doing, but in a act of devotion, just engage them slowly, so that they can come up. And if they can do some fasting or some chanting, that will just sow the seed and it will fructify with the time.
Very nice. Absolutely. Because Krishna consciousness we're reading that undoes the effects of Kali. And you know, as a doctor, that when you take a medication, it's not going to, you're not going to, there's certain diseases which become chronic, and we do have a chronic disease of Kali. It's not going to fix in one day, right? It takes a long time. So we're taking medicine of 16 rounds, hopefully, and slowly and slowly, those effects, that disease will wear off, and we can come in the mode of goodness and mode of pure goodness eventually. So it's a long process, definitely, for sure. Thank you. Thank you, Prabhuji. And Ajay?
Yes, Hare Krishna. Yes, it's interesting that after reading these verses, it would seem that Kali, there was some restriction as such. Yet, even in today we live in what is supposed to be the golden age in Kali, you wouldn't think there's any restriction. You think Kali was fully, functioning, fully active. Yet there clearly is room for him to even do further. It's just not even, he's not even fully active yet as such. He's actually being held back just a bit, just enough that actually that it is possible to do some bhakti. It is actually possible to, so when I talk about truthfulness, for example, truthfulness is only really resides in the Shastra. At least there is still some faith in Shastra from some people at least. So there's no faith whatsoever, then people, then it's, if we talk about fake news, then everyone's lost complete faith in everything. Nobody knows what's real. Nobody knows what's fake. And also, even with the currencies and the manipulation of the economy, you see, Prabhupada speaking about this 60 years ago. Now these days, you see, countries relying on heavy borrowing to manipulate their own economic status. So you can have countries billions in debt, trillions in debt. America at least, and then yet they all say the economy is doing brilliantly. Just mass manipulation for their own greed. That's what leads to this madness. Like, Kali's more than happy to see people just go about the craziness and just degrade themselves further and further. Gambling is the obvious one. You can lose everything very quickly in the gambling house. And then if you go to gambling house, you can do it online. You could be doing from you're investing in. Gold might be that's a bad investment. Maybe not. Maybe now it's not maybe just a great investment. But if you invest before you invest money, you can get dragged into sort of thing. If you don't understand what you're doing, you can get dragged into it. And even if you do understand what you're doing, you can get addicted to overly addicted to trying to make a quick profit, and then you can get dragged into making a mess of your life. That's why regulations are so important, because you can regulate yourself. And if you are finding that you are getting caught up in it, then this will help bring you back to the correct path. Become too addicted to financial gain, to prosperity, you won't be happy in the end, because you see it with even the very rich. It's never enough. You can have billions, you want more billions. You can have all the material gain, all the so-called material benefit. It never makes you happy. It always gets worse and worse as it gets along, because it doesn't satisfy the soul. And that's what Kali relies on. You going for the easy option, even though you know deep down it's not the right option. And that's what we need to be careful of as devotees. We don't take sometimes there's a difference between taking the easy option and then the simple option. Simple option can be effective. The easy option is dangerous, because rather than doing what's right, we take the easy option, and that's when we degrade ourselves, and then we regret it later on. Think, oh, why did I do that? That wasn't correct. That's an old form. That's an old form. It could be in chanting, when you're reading, when you're preaching, whatever. There's something to be said. Just put a bit of effort in, and then things go more smoothly. Things actually work out. It's just that Kali influence. Let's say, we are members of Kali, get a bit lazy at times. So it's something to be mindful of. I'm certainly going to be mindful of myself. You have to be aware that it is easy to slip up here and there. It doesn't have to be something major. Just some bad habits creep in, the anarthas creep in, and then there's a little foolishness happens there. You think, oh, why did I do that? So you don't have to. Yeah, that's something you have to just be aware of. And if you do that, then you will improve, and that's the beauty of bhakti. There's no loss of diminishing. You're always improving. It's just about seeing actual improvement rather than minor improvement. You don't want to get stagnant. That's the way forward. You keep pushing forward, you keep improving, and then Krishna will reveal himself to you further and further. If you're lucky, you might even get darshan as well. So there's nothing to lose. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Absolutely right. I mean, this is why association is so important. The association, people can tell you if you're drifting off. If family is devotees, even better, because they're with you all the time. They can correct you. Very important. Not to hide away, but to keep association. So you can bounce off other people. You can see whether is your behavior in line with devotees or not. Have the things you've been saying, are they what the devotees talk about, or you just getting wrong association and drifting off that way. So association very important. And this thing about gold, I'm thinking again, is because what happens with the gold, you tend to, if you invest in the gold, you see as a long-term investment, and you hide it away for a long time. So those funds really, you should. Krishna says, use. In myself, we can get so greedy that you just want keep hoarding gold, and you're not really using that money in the service of the Lord. Because you think I'll make another bar and I'll make another bar, 100 grams and another 100 grams. You keep piling up, and then you die, and then somebody else will find it later on. But you never manage to use it in the Lord, in the service of the Lord. So very important that you have liquid funds that you can invest in the Lord's service rather than hoarding it away. So that's another problem with these things. Thanks so much, Radharani.
Hare Krishna, everyone. My pranams to all of you. Yes, we have seen the symptoms of Kali all around us, and it's been mentioned clearly in the Shastras as well, that the religion, the truthfulness, the cleanliness, the tolerance, the mercy, the duration of the life, and of course the memory and the strength of the people will be diminishing slowly, gradually, and everything is up to people, end of the day, isn't it? There is good and bad available, and if they are clinging to the bad habits, to the bad association, anything connected with bad is going to pull them down. And people can bring themselves up as well by connecting themselves to the goodness and to the all the nice things available given by the nature. So it's clearly mentioned for all of us where should our we should be pulled towards the goodness, towards the Shastras, towards the Dharma, because if we go against it, we'll bring downfall for our souls, and our souls are not happy if they're not connected to the Lord. They're happy only in the association of you know, the things and the everything connected to the Lord makes us happy basically, and vice versa, we are not happy. Temporary happiness is there when we are just fulfilling our own whims and fancies. If we are just wasting our time on material pursuits, they don't give us lasting happiness. So we have to follow dharma, and that is the only way to get out of this Kali Yuga for our souls. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So thank you all so much. We'll catch up on Monday. Have a wonderful weekend. And Granthra Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Go Premanande. Hari Hari Bol. Thank you all so much. Hari
Hare
Bol.
Krishna.
Hari Bol. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Hari Hari Bol.